It is Monday, and it is 7 o'clock-ish, so we're going to get started. We had a brief hiatus from recordings last week. Even though we did a class, I didn't record it because we just did kind of a Q and answer session. So we're picking back up with our Orrery project. So we're working towards a model, a semi-accurate model of the Earth, Sun, and Moon, which are the important parts of the universe, because they're the part that I know how to make an Orrery out of. And here, I'm sure we can find a model of the solar system. Here, we'll just find a nice solar system model. Yeah, just like that. So, you know, everybody knows.
Can we turn the lights off in just the front?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Is it possible?
Yeah, we can definitely do
It's
that.
quite hard to see.
Take a picture of the thing. And then
Also, if it says my subscription has expired, is that?
So you'll have to get set up as a hobbyist. And so you may have to go to Autodesk's website and log in and do that. Yeah. So everybody knows, like, obviously this is what the Earth, Sun, Moon model looks like. You know, you got your disk out there.
Looks way too long, man. That should be flatter.
It should be flatter in the firmament. Is that what they call it?
The turtle and the elephant.
Right, I'm missing the turtle and the elephant. That's right. I'm sorry. We gotta get one with a turtle and an elephant in there. There's one with the sun. That works. That looks accurate. It's a safe bet that our model will be more accurate than this. That is as much accuracy as I can give you. It will definitely be more accurate than this. How precise it will be to real life is yet to be determined, but we'll get there slowly. Well, it's a series of gears that move together in a ratio that I pulled off of the interweb, and it will rotate around. I've got the gears here, so you can see as I move them around. You can see my little moon is rotating around the Earth over there, which is fun. That gearing ratio should be pretty good. So today we're going to make a crap ton of gears.
To use later to put together?
Yes! Just like this right here. My envision for this project is it will be a CNC project. I laser cut these just for speed. But we'll...
You're gonna make it?
Yeah, we're going to generate some G-code, and I'm going to try to cut them out and on some brass or something like that. Yeah, we like to actually make things in this class, in meat space, in the real world. It's fantastic. So let's go ahead and jump in. I'm going to open up my project that we started a couple weeks ago, which is the sun. We've got our sun modeled here. And around our sun, we're going to need to put a series of gears that work our way to the Earth. And in order to do that, we are going to use an add-in. So some of you may have this add-in already. It's the Helical Gear Plus add-in. I think, Mike, you probably got this covered. But for those of you who don't have this add-in, the way that we get it, and you can check if you got it already. If you click on the Create menu, it should be all the way at the bottom. Cool. So if you pop over to the Utilities tab up here at the top, and we open up this Utilities tab here, there is an Add-ins menu, and this Add-ins menu will take you to the Fusion 360 App Store. And that will open up the internet, which is a series of tubes in which you can get Fusion 360 add-ins. And we are going to search for helical gear plus. That one right there. It's real nice. And if we
download it, does it download onto your browser thingy, or does it download onto the computer?
it downloads onto the computer.
Okay.
Yeah, so if we click download here, it will make me type in my email address. And then it will make me type my password. Actually, it's hey, I got it right. And then it will download. And I believe once it's downloaded, you just have to open it. Did you successfully download? Ish?
You find it on Solid and Create, that menu.
Yeah, so did you open the file that you downloaded? So it'll download like
That's
a
a good question.
package file, and then how do we do this? I forget how we do this.
Yeah, some options to open it in various.
Plugins and add-ins, dark table not responding, that's nice. Go away. Maybe I should have read more. Helical Gear Plus.
Yeah, I'm getting that. How do you want to open this file?
Generates blah blah blah. Screenshots. I don't remember how to install this. Double click on the download installer from the Autodesk App Store to install the app plugin.
Oh,
Show in folder.
did I get it? Oh, it says it's not a supported file type in Autodesk. Fusion.
Yeah. How do we do this? I don't remember how to do this. Mike, do you remember how we did this?
Yeah, you just go to the download folder or wherever you saved it as, and you double click on it because it's a .msi if you're running a Windows
Oh, ha ha ha.
and that's a self-installing archive.
Yeah, so we downloaded the wrong thing. So, here, I keep missing this. It thinks we're using a Mac. It probably defaults to a Mac.
How could it?
You know, because, I don't know, no engineers use one? I don't know. And now if we hit download, now we will download the correct file type if we switch it to Windows 64, which is
Success.
a thing
Well,
apparently.
I need to add in username and password.
Yeah, there we go, and then we can just uninstall or install it.
Does anyone know that for this computer? Admin username and password.
Oh, it won't let you install.
Do you know the password for this computer?
I might know it.
We're just installing an add-in for Fusion 360.
Yep, there you go.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Since you are on the board, you ought to know it. Let's just wrench it.
I'm recording.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Then how's about I write it down for you?
Okay,
Does that sound
cool.
good?
Yeah. Thank you. All right, so now we've downloaded we now have an add-in. It's fantastic. So now if we go back to our solid workspace here and we click on the create menu, now we have a wonderful new menu item down here at the bottom called Helical Gear Plus.
Mine doesn't have it yet.
Oh, maybe you have to restart your
Okay,
Fusion.
let me try that.
That could be a thing. Yeah, if you don't have it, you may have to restart Fusion.
Did you make that light bulb?
We did. We drew this light bulb a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Even I made a light bulb.
Yeah. Mike made a light bulb too.
Yours is fancy. You
Mine's
made a
platinum.
mirror light bulb.
Yeah.
I just did the clear glass. Not as nice as yours.
I'm just gonna download one from the internet.
I have
Okay,
to
cool.
buy 300
A light bulb?
Yeah.
I think it was a good beginner project.
Got it. It's there.
Woohoo! Alright, so now if we go and click on Helical Gear Plus, now we get a little Helical Gear Plus window that pops up here. And we got a whole bunch of information. So we are indeed making an external gear. But just so you're aware, you can do other kinds of gears with Fusion. So we can make the kind of gear that is an internal gear, thank you sir. You can make the kind of gear that is a gear rack, so just a flat gear. You can do that all with Fusion here, with the Helical Gear Plus. But we are going to make an external gear. The module refers to the size of the teeth. And now I don't remember what size tooth I made. They're probably, we may have to change this later, but I'm going to make this 4 millimeters. The helix angle here, actually, I'm going to hit the preview button so you can see what we're doing here. So if I click on this little preview checkbox, it'll show us the actual gear in front of us. So if I change this to like a 2 millimeter tooth, you can see it got much smaller. So that module refers to the size of the teeth. And I'm pretty sure 4 millimeters is what we want, although it might be 5. But we can always change that later, I think. So the helix angle refers to the angle that these teeth, the angle of attack of these teeth. The default here is to have a 30-degree angle there. And that is because you can do something that's kind of interesting with a angled gear, and you can make a herringbone gear. This is actually my favorite kind of gear if you're 3D printing things, because some problems with gears is, you know, they don't stay aligned with each other, but these helical gears stay aligned with each other all the time. However, if you take your helical gear drawing into the machine shop, you're gonna have a bad time cutting one out on a mill. I'm sure it's possible, but I can't tell you how, so you're on your own. So we will not be making helical gears or herringbone gears. We are just gonna make straight up and down 0-degree helix angle gears for this entire project, because they'll be nice and easy to machine. And our first gear is going to be 52 teeth. So I'm going to type that in, 52. I'm going to hit the tab key. A gear width, let's change that to 5 millimeters. So that's the thickness of our gear. Normally, yeah, go ahead.
If you close the window, how do you open that window up again? So if I click, like, away from it?
You panic.
Yeah.
So like if I accidentally hit OK,
Uh-huh.
I don't believe there's a way for me to get back, unfortunately, because it just kind of makes me a gear. It doesn't add in anything down here, no. So the only way to get back to the gear is kind of to start over, unfortunately. So if you click on the Create menu again, and then Helical Gear Plus, it will remember the last settings that you used. So you can have one. Yeah, 29 teeth. Yeah, all right. And it will remember the module. It'll remember the helical angle. So really, for a project, you really only have to set this one time. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click OK here. And now you can see that we've got a helical gear component that it is made for us here. So it tells us that it's a helical gear, even though that's kind of not true because it's just a straight gear with no helix, but we'll let that slide for now. It tells us how many teeth are in this. It's a 52 teeth, 52R, which is the number of teeth there, and it's at 4 millimeter. Size of the gears, 4 millimeter module. That's the word I'm looking for. Words are hard. All right, so now this gear is not quite in the right position. So let's go ahead and move it in place. If you've never moved anything in Fusion before, the modify menu is where you want to find the move command. So if we come down here to the move command, now we can move this helical gear in two ways, and I would highly recommend moving it the second way. So first, I could move just the body that makes up that helical gear. My move object type is set to bodies. However, if I just move that body, there are sketches and other things associated with this component that are more than just the body. So I would always encourage people to move the entire component if that is an option. So if you've just got one body in that component, instead of a move object type of bodies, if you change it to a move object type of components, and then you can either pick the component in your browser over in the left side of your screen, or you can click on it in your drawing field. And then I'm just going to move this down using this little blue arrow here. By moving the component in its entirety, I move everything that's associated with that component. So I'll move the sketches that are associated with it. I'll move the any drawing planes, axes that are associated, all that kind of stuff, move all with that component there. And I'm just going to move it down so it exists a little bit above the threads of our light bulb, some amount. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. Now thankfully, we drew our light bulb right at our origin, and the first helical gear is right at the origin, so that makes things nice and easy. We don't have to align things that way. But we do need to cut some parts out of our gear. So the gear will need a hole for sure that will have a light bulb sticking through it. And then we can also have some sort of pattern on our gear. So let's start just by making that hole in the center of it. I'm going to do that first by selecting my helical gear as my active component. So I'm going to make a sketch on the surface of this gear, and I want that sketch to live inside of my helical gear component. I don't want that sketch to be kind of out here in no man's land in the Orrery main document component. I want it to be right inside of this helical gear component. So now when I click on the Create menu and I go ahead and choose Create Sketch, now I can hover over the surface of my 52-tooth gear and I can click on it. Here I've got a menu that pops up, or a window that pops up here, excuse me. And this is because I moved something in my drawing field. Whenever you move, at least this is what I think, when you move things, it tends to give you these little dialog boxes. I can't think of a time when I'd want to revert to a position. I always want to capture the current position. Like if things look the way you want them to before you created your sketch, You want them to keep looking like that, so I would always default to capture position there. All right, so now we're looking straight down at our gear. And now we can draw a little cutout for the center circle here. So I'm going to click on my Create menu. I'm going to come over to Circle, and I'm going to choose a center diameter circle there. I'm going to hover over the origin or the middle of our gear here, and I'm going to click to place that center point. And then I'm going to move my mouse out here. And I'm going to guess this is going to need to be 2 inches. So if I type in 2 and then enter, and now if I look a little bit more at a side view, 2 inches would be definitely enough to clear the section of the light bulb that I'm at right now. But we probably don't need that much. Could I do like 1.5? Even 1.5 would be fine.
1.5 you changed it to?
Yeah, I changed it to 1.5, which should fit the threads of the light bulb through just fine, and just be a nice tight-ish fit on our light bulb, or snug enough that it looks like it's supposed to be snug, if that makes sense. So there's my light bulb, and there's my circle. Now, here's a kind of a fun thing that you can do. Let's say you wanted to know exactly where that light bulb was intersecting with that gear. We could find that information out. So there is a wonderful option in the Create menu. If we click on the Create menu, we can scroll down to Project Include, and then we can choose the second option from that menu, which is Intersect. And if we choose that Intersect option, and now I hover over my light bulb, or where my light bulb kind of intersects with my gear, if I go ahead and click on that, you can see there's a red line that's appearing around the outside of my light bulb there. And then I'll just go ahead and say OK. So now that projects a really precise line. If our light bulb was really precisely drawn, which I guess I'm not quite sure it is, because we just kind of guessed at a light bulb, but this would be a really great way to exactly fit a light bulb or a gear around a light bulb. And right now I think this 1.5 inches is going to be fine. Alright, the next thing we want to do is I want to define an outside edge. So we've got kind of our center hole drawn. We want to define an outside edge and kind of an inside edge here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab from my Create menu, I'm going to grab another center diameter circle. I'm going to place that circle concentric on the circle that I drew previously, and I'm just going to move my mouse all the way to the outside edge. And if I move all the way to the inner tooth of the outside edge, so here I'll kind of zoom in so I can show you what I'm clicking on there. So I'm clicking on one of the edges there, and that'll place a circle at the very inside tooth radius, let's call that. Now, I placed that circle because I'd like to be able to define a measurement or a distance. I want to be able to define this distance here, like between my inner tooth and my inside edge there. And we can do that with an offset. Are you guys following me? Yeah? No? Pause?
Now, you lost me when
Oh, yeah.
I went to close the door. You started talking about Project Include.
Yeah, this kind of an
All I could
optional.
hear was the table saw up there.
So kind of an optional thing. So if you want to, we can go to the Create menu here, And if we scroll down to project include, and then over to this intersect option. So we've got a light bulb that intersects through the drawing plane that we're drawing on here. And if we wanted to really precisely locate where that intersection occurs, with this intersect window open here, I can click on the part of my light bulb that kind of goes through my gear, and I can specify that as the geometry that I want to project, and then I can say OK. It's interesting that it gave me, oh yeah, 2 lines, because there's an inside and an outside of my glass bulb. That's why there's 2 lines there. So we kind of freehanded our light bulb. We kind of, guesstimated. We did a little back of the napkin calculation. So I don't know if I'd trust that implicitly, but it's probably pretty close. All right, and then the next thing we did is we drew, we got a couple of circles drawn. So we've got our little 1.5 inch diameter circle that's kind of like the inside opening of our gear. And we drew another line, or another circle, that would be the outside edge. So I drew a circle concentric on this 1.5 inch diameter circle, only I made it come all the way to the edge of where our gear tooth is. Any questions so far from anybody as we keep drawing?
Where was that circle? Draw a circle option?
In the create menu,
Okay.
then there's a circle, and then center diameter circle.
Okay, I think I'm on the wrong thing.
And if you don't see a bunch of like drawing things, if you see, like, if your menu looks like this,
That is what my menu looks like?
cool. So somehow you stopped editing your sketch.
Okay.
So in your browser, there's a sketches folder, and you can spin down the little triangle to look at the contents of that folder.
Okay.
And then you probably have a sketch called sketch 3, 2, 14, something like that. And if you right click on it and say edit sketch, it will bring you back to editing that sketch. So now you got your sketch palette open here, and now all the things in your create menu are different.
Okay.
Cool?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
trying to draw a circle, and I have all of these goofy dots showing the design geometry of the gear. It's like it skipped. Okay, I'm still in sketch mode. Here's the sketch palette. Center diameter circle. Click there. Click there.
There you go.
And
So you're good. You got it.
well, there's no dimension showing of the circle.
Yeah, so if you just click somewhere, it doesn't give you a dimension of your circle. So the circle is fully constrained because it will snap to whatever the edge of that gear is. So like mine doesn't have a diameter either. It's just a circle that is constrained by its kind of like snapping point, if that makes sense. So we haven't actually specified a diameter for this circle. It just knows that it's going to exist at the edge of the gear because we clicked on that edge point to give it a dimension. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And then if we use our offset tool now, so from the modify menu, if we choose offset, and now we click on that circle that we just made, and I drag it inwards, and let's give this like for me it's a negative number going inwards. Sometimes Fusion flops this around, and I'm not sure why, but we want our circle to go inwards I made mine 1/2 of an inch. But you know, there's some creative freedom. There's going to be some creative freedom in like kind of the design of this gear from here on out. So I'll let you make your own decision about how thick. And again, it's kind of like this dimension, this thickness here that we're kind of defining. So I made mine 1/2 an inch. 1/4 of an inch would probably also be phenomenally adequate. If you get much smaller than that, you know, then they might not be a decent strength. So I probably wouldn't go much smaller than 1/4. Yeah.
So I am trying to center my gear onto my light bulb, and I've moved it a couple times, and then every time I go into sketch move, it snaps out of place.
Yes. So when you edit your sketch, you go back in time to when you first made that sketch. So if you move something after you make a sketch, then it no longer exists, kind of like you go back in time to before when you moved it. So you may want to, instead of, if you want to move something, you may want to, instead of editing a sketch, just make a brand new sketch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there a way that like I can go back to it all being put together in the right spot?
Let's go and take a look.
Because this is my issue.
Yeah. So you still have a center of your gears there, so I think you're good.
But
and then we can
the bulb is like here and it's kind of halfway through.
Yeah, we can center it after you make your sketch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can edit it like in this.
Yes,
Kinda
you
offset.
can keep drawing it in this state. Yeah.
And then I will just put it in the right spot at the end.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So you want to draw a center circle that's 1.5 inches.
Okay.
All right, we've got our offset from our edge. That's 1/2 inch. And now the next thing that we need to make an offset from is our 1.5 inch center circle. So from the modify menu, I'll go ahead and grab that offset tool again, and we'll offset our 1.5 inch center circle. I'm going to do mine the same distance because that makes sense in my brain hole. But there's probably mathematics to making a gear, or there certainly is mathematics to a gear strength. But we're just trying to make something that's going to be pretty. We don't have to worry about a lot of load on this. So I'm going to make mine the same number. But again, creative freedom here. You could make this twice as big. Make a nice big thick interior space of your gear, or real thin. Your call. But I'm going to go with 1/2 inch. And I'm going to say okily dokily. Now, the fun part. So on our gear, we need to somehow connect the interior of our gear to the exterior of our gear with some sort of arm structure. Now, we really only have to draw one of these arms.
The gear is solid at this point.
It is.
Why do we have to connect? Don't we have to cut out?
We have to cut out. Yes, that is a better way to put it. Yeah, that is a good point. So right now we've got a solid gear, and you know, like I guess I think about drawing these arms, but really we're gonna cut out the negative space. So I'm gonna draw whatever I want this arm structure to be, and then I'll use the negative space to kind of cut out and remove that bit. Yeah. Yeah. So in order to draw an arm, I'll probably have time to draw a couple, just so we've got some illustration here. So we can make this real simple. I could do a very simple line. So I could grab my line tool, and I'm just going to draw a line from the center of my circles straight out, so it connects to the inside offset gear there, offset circle on the outside there. And now from using that line, I can use my offset tool again. So if I come up to the modify menu, I can come down to the offset tool, and I can offset a gear. I've been using a 1/2 inch as a measurement, so I'm going to offset it 1/4 inch in one direction, and then again I'm going to offset it again -1/4 inch in the other direction. So this is an example of a way that you could choose to make that connection. We'll be able to turn this into a pattern, so you only have to draw this one time. Let me give another option here. So I'll draw a line out from the center, and I'll draw it all the way out to my outside edge there. If you wanted to, you could make, let's say, a weird arc. So I could grab from my create menu, I can come and grab my arc tool here and grab like a 3-point arc. And I could click to place the beginning of my arc, and then click to place the end of my arc. And I can make like just a nice curved shape like that. And now if I wanted to take this curved shape and I wanted to mirror it over the line that I drew initially, I could just come up here and click on the create menu and then scroll down to mirror. I'll choose the object that I'm going to mirror, and then the line I'm going to mirror it across, and I'll say OK. Let me kind of come and take a peek and see how you guys are doing with your circles. This is something I used to do like at the beginning of fusion class, and I kind of got out of this habit. Like walking around, seeing how people were doing. How you doing? Did you figure out your licensing issue?
Kind of, sort of. I just like created an account with an email. I'm just trying to do some like simple flattening projects.
Flattening?
Yeah, like flattening a slab of wood.
Okay, sure. So you need
super
to
rudimentary.
just generate, yeah.
I just need to like generate some sort of path. So
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, so you just need to like draw a flat surface.
Yeah, I was hoping we could
Yeah.
just connect like super quick after the meeting, and
Yeah, so you will only need to draw one arm,
And it will repeat
because
it.
we will make a pattern that is a repeating pattern around there. So you could pick your favorite one, and we'll just do your favorite one when we come to that. Or you should probably delete the ones that aren't your favorite.
Okay.
So I drew 2 kinds of arms here. I think I like this little curvy bit arm. So I'm gonna delete this other one.
So the straight one can be deleted, or?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Some of us like the straight arms. How would you make a circular pattern? You have to finish the sketch, then select that area and do the circular pattern?
You do not.
Because it won't let me choose that area to make a circular pattern.
So from the create menu,
Yes, sir.
you come down to circular pattern,
Yes.
and then if you pick the line,
Okay.
we're still editing the sketch, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm able to pick the 2 lines.
All right.
Yeah.
I can do that. I was trying to select the area
Sure.
and make that into the circular pattern, and it
Yes.
says fuck off and die.
Don't do that. We need you, Mike. All right, so now we can specify a center point. And our center point is going to be any one of the circles. So I can click on the point that's at the center, or I can click on literally any one of these circles that I just made, and it will make a pattern in the quantity that you specify around the outside there. So it defaults to 3. You could make it 5 or 6 or
Where was that one?
Right, the circular pattern is in the create menu. If you scroll down fourth from the
got it.
bottom, circular pattern. And then the objects that you want to make a circular pattern of are the outside lines of whatever kind of arm you just made. And then the center point can be any one of these circles. So I can pick on this outside circle here, and it'll, yeah, go ahead.
Is it okay that I repeated the pattern of the 2 arms? Because it
Sure.
is spaced out kind of funky.
Yeah, I mean, if you like the way it looks, it's your gear. I'm not on the Supreme Court. I can't tell you what to do with your gear. That's for you to decide.
Cool.
But you can specify the amount of gears that you see fit, or the amount of arms that you see fit.
How many legs do you recommend?
I'm gonna go with 6.
You
I
go
think
with
I like
6?
the way that
Okay.
looks.
I
Yeah.
was gonna go with 5, but I'm afraid of summoning a demon. by
Ah.
mistake.
Yeah, nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to summon a flat Earth demon who will tell you you have the incorrect number of spokes.
How do
in
the
your-
spaces go out?
All right, so now
I'm excited.
that we've got our spaces cut here, our spaces not cut, our spaces made. Now, if we go ahead and click on the Finish Sketch option there,
Mhm.
now we can get rid of cut out our little spaces using the Extrude tool. Actually, we should be in the habit of naming our sketches. So we've got a sketch over here. Mine is called Sketch 3. If I click once and then click a second time, we'll call this Spokes. That makes sense to me. It's kind of where I modeled the spokes. I'm not sure if that's what it's called with the gear. But now if we go ahead and click on Create and then Extrude, and we can click on the empty space, the spaces that we want to cut out from our gear, and this will include all these little interior bits here. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the visibility on my bulb, just because it'll be easier to click on and highlight all these little bits here, because we need to get rid of the interior of our circle as well. And I'll kind of need to zoom in because I got a lot of, oh boy, I got a lot of little kibbles here, because we projected that bulb, and that bulb had some thickness, so that gave us a lot of extra geometry. That's alright. If you didn't do that step, it'll save you a bunch of clicking right now. But clicking is fun. There are like entire game genres that people do for fun where you have to just click a lot of times, and somehow that's enjoyable. And you don't even get to make anything. Okay, cool. So there is all the little kibbles and bits that I want to 52 selected items. And now you normally when we'd extrude, we drag this up, right? But we want to cut away. So instead of dragging this arrow up, if we push it down, you can see that our extrude dialog box here, the operation at the very bottom changes from join or new body to cut. And because we are cutting out those sections of gear openings there, and I'm just going to say okay. Now we've got our first gear.
Oh, it looks so cool.
In the last couple of minutes here in class, I just want to change the material on our gear, because we did that with our light bulb. We made our light bulb nice and clear, and made it look like the appropriate materials. We can also do that with our gear here. So if you remember from the first class, if we click on the modify menu, and we come down to appearance. Now we can find in our metals section, I'm imagining making this out of brass. Seems like an appropriate kind of clocky material to make a old-timey clock. In fact, you can make it out of old brass if you want to. I don't know how that's different, but polished brass is what I chose.
How about bronze? It's stronger than
Bron-
brass.
Bronze is good. Yeah, there you go. You could totally make yours out of bronze. Since this is a machining project, you can find, here we got gold in the list. You could get your brick of gold out, and you could machine this gear out of a single brick of gold.
Why is it?
Actually, I think technically only Jessie can do that because she lives in a really fancy apartment with walk-in closets that have windows in them. And so, Jessie as a 1%er probably has bricks of gold just
I live
hanging
in a
out.
closet, is what he's referring to.
Sorry, maybe that was too much information. I apologize. Okay, cool. So that's it. There's our gear that we've made. This is the first of many gears that we will make. Next week we'll make another gear or 3. Now that we've got it downloaded and
Carl?
yeah.
What am I doing wrong? I'm not getting the pretty finish here.
You have to drag it onto it.
Oh,
Drag and drop it into
Yeah, it's
it.
like
Okay, thank you.
click and drag it right onto it. There you go. Sweet.
So I hid my bulb, and then I showed my bulb, and because I moved it before, it's alive.
Oh, all right, cool.
I don't know how that happened.
All right. I mean, when things work out, I don't
That's
complain.
good.
It just is.
And my camera's really cool.
We got 5 minutes left here. Tell you what, here, just because we're kind of excited about how this looks right now. If I come back to my bulb component here, just kind of as kind of a bonus, and I make my bulb component my active component, I'm going to create a sketch inside of my bulb. So I'll come to the Create menu, and I'll choose the Create Sketch option. And I'm going to draw on either one of these planes that cuts my bulb in half, like height-wise. So either this plane or this plane would do just fine. So I'm kind of looking at the profile of my bulb. And now I'm going to draw a couple of lines here that kind of mimic a filament. So if I grab my line tool and I just start at the bottom and I draw kind of a straight line up, and then I'll hit the little checkbox.
Did you start below the glass part?
Yeah, I started below the glass part. That's a good question. And now I'll grab my arc tool. I'll grab a 3-point arc tool here. And I'll start my arc kind of on the end of my line. And then I'll come over and kind of imagine where the other end of that bulb would be. And if I just make like a big circle like that, a nice big curvy arc. I didn't practice this. I probably should have practiced this because, I have a history of doing things like that and they don't work. And then I draw the other end of the light bulb or the filament down like that. So I just drew a kind of a simple filament in the inside of my bulb there, just out of lines. You with me? Cool? And then I click Finish Sketch. I'm pretty sure that I can turn those sketches into a pipe. So from the create menu, I don't use this often, but if you draw a sketch, just a 2D sketch, and you grab this pipe tool, the pipe tool, look at how magical that is. The pipe tool will let you turn that into a three-dimensional object there. I'm going to choose to make this a new body. I'm going to make it circular, and I'm going to make the section size pretty tiny, like 0.05. But light bulb filament is probably smaller than that, but I'm going to go with 0.05. And then I'm going to say OK. Now, if we come up inside the modify menu again, and I choose the appearance option, there is, I believe it's in other. Yes, it's in the other folder. In that other folder is a folder called emissive. And what you can do here is you can take like that, this like LCD display. Oh, I gotta download it. So if there are little arrows next to arrows with a line underneath them, that means you have to download that filament or that material before you can use it. And now, because that body is inside of my light bulb, it'll be hard for me to drag it in my drawing view here and drag it on top of my little filament there. So I spun open the bodies folder in my bulb component in my browser, and I'm just going to drag that material right on top of that body in my bodies folder there inside of my bulb component. And I'll just drop that right on there. And now that material has been applied. However, I know from experience that it's not going to be bright enough. So you can double click on the material, and the luminance materials have a little added extra bit there. It's called luminance. And you can kind of crank this up like a little bit more than halfway, and then I'll say done. And now we've got a glowing, we can change the color of it too. We can make it more light bulby, like a glowing orange bit. And now if I say close, now it's difficult to tell that it's glowing here, but if we change our workspace from the design workspace to the render workspace, now if we were to actually render this, if I click on render, we'll just make it like that big, local render. Now it's rendering, and well, I see if we have any questions. That's it. That's how you make a little glowing bit in the inside of your light bulb, just for a little added extra credit there. Cool. So like I said, next week we'll continue with our gears. We will draw more gears. I'm going to do test fitting, so I'm going to cut out a bunch more laser cut pieces so I can test fit the gears together, so I know we got the right spacing between them and the right mesh. We do have to modify these gear teeth because you'll notice that the interior of these gears has a straight line, and the exterior of these gears also has a hard cornered edge. And because we are machining these with round bits, we can't get into this corner with a round bit. So we have to round over these interior corners and we have to round over these exterior corners, but we will cross that bridge next week when we come to it. Cool. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for teaching.
Thank you.
How did you get there with SolidWorks?
It was a struggle, but I got there, so kind of. Got a gear.
Sweet.